Hello and welcome to Ticket Manager's All Access interview series, engaging leaders from across the sports marketing spectrum to identify and explore critical issues in the business of sports, entertainment, sponsorship, activation, ticketing, hospitality, and even more. I'm your host, Jim Andrews, and joining me on this episode is Mark Youngworth, Chief Operating Officer for Zips Car Wash. Mark, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Hey, Jim, it's great to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Before we dig into this innovative approach that Zips is taking to collegiate partnerships and the NIL space, I'd like to learn a little bit more about the company itself, especially since you occupy a pretty unique category in sponsorship. So could you give us an overview of the industry that you're in and Zips Car Wash specifically?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think with the first time you hear sports sponsorships and sports marketing, I'm sure car washing doesn't jump right to the top of your mind. So yeah, Zips Car Wash is the third largest car wash. We're the largest privately held car wash in the US. We have almost 280 locations across 25 states. And what we are is an express car wash business. So we're one of the car washes where you drive your car up to the tunnel, and then we take you through the wash through our tracks. And then you can kind of drive around to the side and use our complimentary vacuums and towels and spray bottles. That's who Zips is. Yeah.
With all of that as the background, then what is the strategy behind being involved in college sports? I guess what are the goals and objectives that you're hoping to achieve through partnerships?
Yeah, I think when we think about the strategy for college sports, I think for us, it was really important first and foremost to just understand where we are, right? Car washing is still a relatively young retail brand. It's been around for a long time, but big brands haven't existed, right? Think fitness or, a decade ago, right? Before the Planets came along and really established strong brands. That's where car washing is. So it's a very fragmented landscape. We are one of the biggest, but we did feel that, there was an opportunity for us to connect with our customers and local fans in a bit of a different way. So that's kind of really where we started to think about sports marketing. And that really kind of drove off of some of the founders' beliefs around, there's really strong connection between the customers in the areas we're in and with the sports teams that we're sponsoring right now. And it's kind of easy to put the one-on-one together when you're in places like Knoxville and Raleigh and Lexington, right? Just a strong affinity to college sports there. So for us, that was kind of first and foremost is, how can we kind of stick out in a sea of sameness in the retail car space and become a little bit more meaningful to our customers outside of convenience and value, right? So that kind of was step one. But then separate to that is we did want to connect deeper, right? Like I said, with consumers. So, we know there's a lot of love for the local collegiate sports teams within a certain area. You see that every Sunday, right? In the fall, for sure. But you see it really throughout the course of the year, not just for football, but for really all of the sports that the universities tend to offer. And so this was a really unique way for us to kind of get in, not only build the brand and kind of create that brand recognition and brand connectivity to a really beloved brand like the University of Tennessee, but it allows us to also kind of stretch our ability to create awareness, brand impressions, reach with customers, and then pull that back to our sites to kind of provide some more meaningful opportunities, right? Things like ticket giveaways for certain game day events, co-branded university and Zips swag that we could give away, rally towels and pom-poms and things like that. So it was really kind of a collective effort that we kind of took a step back and said, okay, well, we're a strong player in a relatively young industry. How do we use something like this to make sure that we're able to grow the brand from an awareness perspective, but really connect on a local perspective with customers?
From a user's perspective, that just makes so much sense, right? Because I think of my experience and basically thinking of a car wash mostly as a commodity where I'm going to go in, I'm going to wash the car, and I'm going to get out, right? And
right.
To have all of that added to the experience is something that I've never even thought of that I might have at a car wash. So well, what a difference maker that must be.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, if you look at all the industry data on car washing, customers learn about car washing by driving by or by someone telling them about it, right? And it's really based on convenience and value. What's the closest car wash to be? When you kind of think about it, car washing from a frequency of a retail customer perspective is only a few times a year. It's 4 to 6 times a year for a retail customer, but we have grown into subscription and driving a subscription model for car washing. And that's usually about 2.5, 3 times a month. So you kind of have two very different consumer segments, but both of them we want them to choose Zips for whatever their car washing needs are. And we feel like we can do that with our convenience and our value with the number of locations we have in the states we're in. But when you add on top our ability to now connect something that they love with two things that they love, right? A clean, dry and shiny car with a local sports team like the University of North Carolina, then that's when we feel like that's a great connection, and then we're kind of in the middle of it.
Then how did the relationship with Learfield and the schools, where you have an exclusive partnership, and this content program, the Car Wash Convos NIL program, how did that all get started? What's the origin story there?
Yeah, so the origin story, as I kind of alluded to a little bit earlier, from us, our founder really felt that there was a strong connection with the areas that we're in. So we took that a step forward, and we did some consumer research to just understand, right? Sports marketing is certainly fun. You get great brand impressions. There's such a strong brand affinity to sports, but where do you start? Do you go professional? Which sport do you go into? Things like that. But what we found through research is that our customers tended to kind of dive towards college sports, which was a wonderful idea for us because they have all the different sports across all the different seasons. So instead of investing in just one National Football League season, we could invest with a school, right, like the University of Arkansas, and really kind of stretch that across all of their collegiate sports seasons, which allows us just kind of more flexibility to provide great experiences for our customers. So that's kind of where the idea generated from. And then from there, it was great conversations with the Learfield team. They've been a great partner with us right from day one. We both kind of came into the conversations very open and transparent about what we're trying to get out of it. What was wonderful with that is that I think we were on the same page right from the beginning. And so we were able to kind of look and create a good program that benefited them, benefited the schools, benefited us, and benefited our customers. And I think that's what we're putting together right now. And so we were able to create kind of what you'd look at as a traditional sponsorship solution with all the advertising and in stadium and print and radio, but then kind of take it a step further with some of the great unique content creation. And I think their innovative ideas match with our innovative ideas with what we're trying to get out of it. It felt like a partnership from the very first conversation before any contracts were signed.
So let's share with the listeners a little bit more about Car Wash Convos. Can you just tell us, give us a description of that program if they haven't seen any of the videos.
Yeah, Car Wash Convos is something we're very proud of, right? It's really our first jump into the NIL space. And so what we did was, we looked at some different opportunities to make sure that we could connect with consumers in a real meaningful and unique way. We didn't feel it was right just to have a student athlete standing outside our car wash next to a shiny car, kind of giving the traditional advertising thumbs up. We wanted to have a little bit more fun, be a little bit more unexpected with the way we approached it. And we really based it off of James Corden's Carpool Karaoke, wonderful series that he created and had out there for a long time. We said, well, what if we matched up student athletes in a car driving through our tunnel? The most exciting part of a car wash is when you're in the tunnel, right? That's when the magic happens. You have the sights and the sounds and the colors and the scents. And what you see when you're kind of going through it, and what I love about this series is you kind of get an honest reaction from the student athletes as they're driving through it. I mean, obviously we have some fun questions laid up to really understand who they are as people, what their personality is like, and who they are as students and student athletes. But you do get the real environment of being in a car wash, which always kind of adds a little bit of interest and excitement to it. So generally what Car Wash Convos is, we have a student athlete host from a university interview another student athlete from that same university, all dressed in their swag at one of our local car washes that are down the street from the schools. And then they just kind of ask a series of fun, interesting, unique questions as they're driving through the Zips car wash tunnel.
And I do love that you use the student athlete as the interviewer as well as the subject too, which I think it just really adds to the authenticity rather than just having somebody maybe an older journalist or
right.
from the corporate communications team. Yeah. It really just makes the conversation very, very natural and probably a bit more fun.
For sure. It's not you, it's not me sitting next to them in the car, right? It's a peer, it's a colleague, right? They've all been through the same things. They see each other in the hallways and they see each other in the athletics departments, and they're coming from the same point of view. And I think that's what makes it so fun and so interesting. And we've been really lucky. We have a great number of hosts that have come in, and they themselves have been coming out of the journalism schools and things like that. So it helps them in their career as well, kind of get a little their feet wet and into the door here. But they've been wonderful. The conversations are real. The follow-up questions are some of the best questions we've gotten, some of the best content we've gotten. And all of that is kind of, it's been interesting as we kind of gone through this, the first few rounds, as you go through it, the student athlete, especially if they've had other NIL deals, they say, well, what do you want me to say? And the response is whatever you want, right? You don't have to say Zips. You can say Zips car wash, whatever. You be you, have fun with it. And it's always kind of like it kind of takes them back a little bit, but they really do. They have a lot of fun with it, and we got some great content out of it.
And so last year, the 22-23 academic year was the first year, and you've stated that it was successful. So for this academic year, you've expanded to, I believe, 14 schools and 22 athletes from 6 of those schools that appear in the Car Wash Convos videos. What were the metrics that you used to say, hey, this worked for us? When you look kind of back after the first year last year.
Yeah. So season 1, as we like to call it, right? Season 1, and then we had last year we had 12 episodes, so we had 12 student athletes. Went wonderfully for us. So we were really excited as we looked at it. We had about 4 million impressions for just the Car Wash Combos series. And 2 million video views. That's just for the series alone. As you think about just the broader, and that was again a portion of how we activated the sponsorships with these schools. We had in-stadium signage, we had print, we had radio, we had ticket giveaways, and then we had sponsored events that would really bring to life the local community, where we would be at game day activations. We would bring mascots, cheerleaders, and student athletes to our site. So it really was a 360 program that we put together. But just with season 1 of Car Wash Combos, we had 4 million impressions. We had over 2 million video views, which is amazing. The full content of what we had done all together, we had well over 50 million in brand impressions, a whole lot more if you kind of get into the media approach in the billions, but then activated almost well over 30 different events locally that our customers could interact with the school in an environment that we helped set up. So season 1 was tremendously successful, but it also, at the end of the day, it helped us improve our sales. It helped us improve our traffic, and helped us improve our brand, our overall brand recognition and impression with local consumers. So season 1 was a tremendous success for us.
One of the aspects of the program, whether it's NIL or using other types of influencers, pro athletes, whatever, that I'm always fascinated with is there are so many to choose from. And even within your program, you've got hundreds of athletes at each school that you could choose to work with. And I know that you work with Open Doors to kind of help with that selection process, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about how that works. How do you go about finding, hey, these are the ones that we're going to go with in the end?
It is a tricky process, right? And I think you kind of referenced season 1 and season 2. So season 1, we had 12 episodes. So we had content with 12 different student athletes. Season 2, we've expanded and we have 22. So 22 episodes, 22 student athletes, almost doubling what we did in season 1. And it is a lot of work. And so, like, as I mentioned, we work with Learfield. We work with Learfield Studios, which is who helps bring the content to life for us, as well as Open Doors. So it is a true team effort. But first and foremost, it's important for us as a business and as a brand that we're aligning with student athletes that kind of meet our overall brand values, right? So that's core to what we do. So as we kind of think about the schools that we've started with, we look at the roster of student athletes they have, and we narrow it down to try to have good representation of both male and female student athletes across the full collegiate year. We don't just look at major sports like a football. We do look at major sports and Olympic sports. And so it's important for us just to kind of have a breadth of everything, right? The idea around this is to be storytellers, and great stories come from everywhere. And some of the best stories we have would be from, I would say, Olympic sports. That sometimes those stories are not told too much because people focus on football and basketball. And so it was really important for us to kind of go a little bit deeper. But as we look at kind of identifying the student athlete to choose for these, it is kind of a meticulous process that we go through. First of all, like I said, we want to make sure it's a good brand fit. So we try to look at the background of the student athlete. We look at their social posts and kind of who they are, what their personality looks like. That's really important to us. And then you kind of get into the other side of it is around, okay, what sports are they playing? What season are they in? How do they perform? what type of stories do they have to tell, and then what's their social following, right? Because at the end of the day, that's how this content gets spread. So there's kind of two sides of it. One is, as people and personalities, are they a good fit with us and who Zips is? And then, from a business perspective, how does the content and how does the story get created, and then how do we kind of distribute that?
And then, Mark, was there a specific reason to select the 6 schools out of the 14 that have the athletes that are participating in the Car Wash Convos program?
Yeah, when we started in year one, it was we had it was a little bit tricky. So we started with Tennessee and Arkansas and North Carolina. Primarily, we started with those 3 schools first because of our density within those markets and how long we've been there, right? So we wanted to make sure that we were invested there. We weren't quite sure what was going to come out of it, right? As we were kind of going through it, it's still a very new space for us. And NIL is still new for a lot of people, but certainly for car wash marketing, it was extremely new. So we wanted to start where we felt like we had good penetration, good brand recognition to be able to kind of pull it through and bring it to life. And so that's why within year one, we started with those schools. As we went to, and by the way, I think the other benefit we got is, they're very strong schools. They have great following, and their sports programs tend to be pretty successful, right? Which keeps them kind of a part of the conversation year round. And I think that that's something that certainly is helpful for us. And then as we moved into year two, we knew we wanted to expand. The University of Texas was kind of a great addition for us. Our corporate headquarters are in Dallas, right? And we know Texas is more than just Austin. It really covers all of Texas and beyond with the fanfare down there. So they were a great addition. Memphis was a new school we added on this year from a full primary perspective. And again, great density there. And how could you not bring on the 2-time defending Georgia Bulldogs from a football perspective and see what we could do there? So that's kind of how we did it. I'd love to say we had a bigger strategy, but really year one was about where are we well penetrated? Where can we connect a little bit better? How well are the schools performing? And will they be a part of the conversation nationally as the season goes on?
A question that I ask anybody that's involved in college sports and athletics these days is, there's just so much change happening, right? Whether it's things like athletes, changing schools through the transfer portal and conference realignment, all of those. Are any of those changes kind of impacting how you're either executing the program or how you may be planning for future years?
Yeah, well, I mean, it certainly impacts me emotionally. I'm a Syracuse University grad, right? So I'm looking to try to get more portal transfers to come up up to Central New York if I could. But yeah, no, for sure, right? One of our student athletes in year one transferred right after the season. It was almost soon after we ended up sharing the content. So while we're extremely excited for that individual because they were going to pursue their dream in a different environment that hopefully gave them better opportunity, it was a bit challenging for us because now your content and your use of that content changes. So it's one of those things that we're still learning as we go through. For us, as we look at it, it was important for us within the NIL space and Car Wash Convos that we're trying to tell unique stories. So we haven't brought any student athletes that have been interviewed back for season 2. So we do kind of give ourselves a little bit of an out with that, but in that particular case, we had to kind of look at changing the way we were going to utilize that content over the course of the calendar year, given that they transferred out of the university. So sure, it impacts us, certainly as we think about it and as we look forward.
One of the things that I've talked a lot about with NIL is, a lot of the activity we've seen in these first couple of years has really been by brands that don't have a relationship with the school. They're just, they're finding athletes and doing programs without the school involvement. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that. But I think as the Car Wash Convos program really shows, there's such synergy when you've got kind of all the parts together, both the athletes and the schools. Do you think, just from a broader marketing perspective, that we'll see more kind of college athletic sponsors leveraging and activating their partnerships with NIL deals the way that you're doing it?
I think yes and no. And I think what I mean by that, I think some bigger brands don't necessarily have to, right? I think when you have a bigger brand out there, you can kind of pick and choose where you want to invest your marketing spend and how you want to tell stories and bring content to life and connect brands together. I think brands that are kind of medium, smaller like us, I think 100% it's you'll see more of that, right? Because I think the connected tissue that we get from just connecting at the university itself, again, through LEDs at the in-stadium LEDs, print and radio activation, game day activations, our on-site use of the IP, our digital and online use of the IP, and then you kind of create this content series, that story that's about storytelling with that, it pulls it all together, and it helps those smaller brands like ourselves become a little bit bigger, a little bit more meaningful, and a little bit more beloved, right? Because the university is. So I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think some big brands don't necessarily have to do that, but I think any medium or smaller brand, I think there's a lot of benefit by doing that, just because it just connects those dots. I mean, customers are, people are just more and more and more busy today, right? They're all over the place. And so you really have to have multiple touch points to let them know what's going on for it to set in. And so for smaller brands that again, we're trying to drive frequency for someone that uses a car wash 4 to 6 times a year. It's important for us to make sure that we're the brand they think about when they're ready to go. And that's why that connected tissue of being connected with all aspects of the university and the NIL piece really makes sense. And so I think you'll probably see a little bit of both as you move forward.
That's a great perspective. I really appreciate that insight, because I hadn't thought about it in terms of the size of the marketer basically being very, very relevant there. But you're absolutely right. Mark, this has been a great conversation. Before I go, I know that season 2 of Car Wash Combos is underway. Do you have any early signs of how the content pieces that are up are performing so far?
Yeah, I think the beauty of season 2, it has already kicked off and it's already outperforming season 1. I think that's the beauty of it, right? Season 1 kind of started from nothing and built into something. Season 2 is already building on something that was very strong for us. So Car Wash Combos is going great. We're really excited about the stories we have to tell. Kind of everything's been shot, so we get a good behind the scenes view of what's coming out. But yeah, we're excited to tell some more stories here. We've got some great student athletes. We've got some great content that we're going to continue to deliver out to customers and fans over the course of the collegiate year, right? So heading right into next May and June, and we have two new Car Wash Combo episodes. They're going to be dropping on the 12th of December and the 19th of December. So on the 12th, for all of you University of Tennessee fans, you can come and learn a little bit more about Squirrel White as you get ready for bowl season. And on the 19th, for all you Razorback fans, you can learn a little bit more about Landon Jackson, again, getting ready for bowl season. So a lot of great content, a lot of stories to tell, and we're having a lot of fun with it.
Excellent, and that's an important part too.
Yeah, for sure.
Be able to enjoy what we do, right? So
yeah.
Mark, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. Like I said, it's a unique program, obviously a very successful one. So kudos to you and to the team at Zips Car Wash, and thanks again for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, Jim. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. And on behalf of everyone at Ticket Manager, I want to thank all of you for watching and listening, and remind you to please join us again for the next episode in the All Access interview series.